Welcome back to another Overwatch Coach video. This won't be a VOD review today, but it was an idea I was kicking around for a new style of video to throw out on the channel once in a while, and it's basically going to be how to deal with particular problems you might run across while playing support. So the first video I thought I would do is how to deal with a annoying Hammond. You know, like when you're playing a game and Hammond is the problem, your team's not dealing with him appropriately. So these will be steps, tips, and things to be doing for all of the support class heroes that you might main and play, and what you would do in these scenarios. So I'm going to go for the low-hanging fruit first, and then we're going to cover every support. Ultimately, some supports are going to be better at dealing with a Hammond than others, so some of my tips might be to just simply swap, but I'll try to at least give you some things to try to do first before just simply swapping. So number one, and I'll write these heroes down because I don't think I'll be bookmarking them, so you can kind of skip around and I'll write the hero I'm talking about, and then you can just look for your hero from there. So in the order we're going to do this, it's going to be Ana, Brig, Lucio, Kiriko, Zen, Mercy, and Moira. That's going to be the order, and again, I'll write it down while I'm talking about it. So, number one, Ana. So, Ana is a low-hanging fruit hero for dealing with Hammond. How to deal with a Hammond as Ana is, number one, play in a position that your team can back you up. Obviously, this, again, is only tips for dealing when Hammond is the problem. So, stand in places where the team can back you up. If you're getting dove as Ana and you're playing next to a Mercy, be somewhere where the Mercy can fly to you. If snipers are a problem, obviously don't do this, but sleep the Hammond, that's number one. So say, for example, you see the Hammond coming in your direction and he gets close, you sleep him. You start pinging him, start screaming on the microphone, do whatever you can to get your team to look at the slept Hammond. Do a countdown, you know, like 3, 2, 1. Ping the Hammond, do whatever you can. And then you anti him to wake him up. And then everybody hopefully starts shooting at the Hammond and either heavily punishes him or you just flat out kill him. And then after you anti him, just start shooting away at him, and then start healing from there again. And if you do that enough, hopefully the Hammond will swap. If you sleep Hammond and your team is not effectively dealing with Hammond, from there it might be a good time to swap, especially if you're playing Respawn Simulator as Ana at that point. If you're not staying alive on support, look within and swap to something that you feel you might be able to stay alive easier with. Just because Ana's one of the more harder counters to Hammond in the support role, doesn't mean just play her when it's not working. So, number two.
I'm here. Getting drowsy.
Brig. So, in my opinion, I think Brig is the best support to play when Hammond is the issue. I don't know if the community will completely agree with that or not. I feel like they tend to want to play Ana first over Brig, but Brig, in my opinion, definitely the easiest hero to play in the support role when countering Hammond. So how best to do that? Number one, you have to disrupt his momentum on Brig, and landing whip shots is going to be your best tool to do that. If you're landing whip shots in a way that either slides him left or right, or if you just completely stop his momentum dead in his tracks, you're going to be a very annoying Brig player to the Hammond. Same thing with doing the shield bash. If you shield bash a Hammond dead on, when he's at full speed, full momentum, he's coming for your Ana, he's coming for your Widow or Ashe or Soldier or whatever, and you shield bash him, his momentum stops dead on. If you hit him to the side, the left or the right, while he's storming past you, all you're going to do is nudge him aside. So you might make him miss maybe the hero that he's going for, but the momentum's still there. Maybe he hits something else. So you got to use your shield bash appropriately. If it's not there for shield bash, that doesn't necessarily mean use it. Use it to close distance. Use it to get out of mines when Hammond ults. Don't just shield bash the Hammond just to shield bash him though. Make sure you're getting value out of it. The second biggest thing to do as Brig to counter Hammond is bodyguard high priority targets that the Hammond's going to want to kill. Ana being number one. Low mobility, longer range DPS characters would be number two. And then after that, just kind of hang around your tank. But if you're playing next to like an Ana, a BAP, that kind of a hero, a Zen, although Zen Brig isn't necessarily something I would encourage too much, but if they're running Hammond and you got like a Zen one trick and you feel like your best opportunity to carry the game is Brig, I've done it. It can happen. It can work. But you got to bodyguard the targets to keep them up. So stay around them. Use your shield. Try to protect them from the momentum. Shield bash, whip shots, anything you can. Keep them going. And then last but not least, when Hammond uses mines, swing away at the mines because it keeps the it keeps her healing going. Swing at mines, beat them up, clear out ways for your team to get through them if you need to. If the mines are just kind of creating a bit of a front line for the enemy team, swing away at them safely. Don't just swing at them mindlessly. But use the mines to Brig's advantage and to your team's advantage. It's a healing charge for Brig. So, third will be Lucio. So, for Lucio, number one, stay on walls and stay moving. Don't be an easy slam target for Lucio. And it's kind of same principle with Brig. If you're playing next to like an Ana, for example, kind of bodyguard the Ana a bit. Keep her within relative distance to your healing and speed aura.
Sorry enough to help.
Don't overshoot at Hammond. Shoot at him, but don't overshoot at him, because you're not ultimately going to do a lot of damage to Hammond. But if he's slept and a bunch of people start crowding around Hammond to try to kill him, be a part of that as Lucio. Ping as Lucio. You play a role as scout, so always be pinging the Hammond for the heroes that will struggle against Hammond when he's diving in. So that way your team always knows where he is. And when you see Hammond prepping up to dive into his target, boop him. You can boop a Hammond who's got full momentum as Lucio and be really annoying to him. It's not as effective as playing Brig, but if you for whatever reason struggle at playing Brig and you need to do a quick swap to counteract Hammond, I've been a very annoying support to other Hammonds playing Lucio, and you potentially could too, especially if you're a good Lucio player. These tricks are definitely more in line for Lucios that are, I would say, probably like in the high plat and above category. But yeah, Lucio can definitely be very annoying to Hammond. And then last but not least, beat dropping mines that are well placed and situationally potentially game winning mines. It could definitely be a good beat drop potential if you're playing Lucio. So like, say for example, you're on an escort map, You guys are kind of stuck at a choke. You're getting close to overtime, or maybe you are in overtime, and all of a sudden Hammond drops mines. You could beat drops so that some of your team can kind of tank out some of the mines to clear out a space for your team to fight through the mines. So yeah, Lucio's a little bit better at fighting against a Hammond, as some may give credit for. Kiriko. Alright, Kiriko. So, Kiriko's all about good positioning and using her mobility against Hammond. And I wanted to show this video in the background to kind of showcase that. So, as you've been watching this gameplay, I feel like when this game was going up against Hammond, their positioning and using their mobility was impeccable. So if you're staying back enough and you see the Hammond charging in, throw out your healing tickets to whoever's about to get hit, because there's going to be some travel time to get to the target before it even gets there. So as the Hammond gets to the target, boops them, slams them, what have you, the tickets are going to start landing on the target at about the same time, and suddenly their ability doesn't do anything. Now, once the Hammond has done his pile driver, now you can teleport closer to that target, assuming it doesn't put you in a position that's going to get you killed. And now you can start healing and throwing out some extra damage to the Hammond. And now the Hammond's not really outputting any damage to the target that he dove on. And suddenly now the Hammond's not getting any serious value. And the other thing to throw out there is, if you've got either a Sombra or an Ana that like sleeps or hacks the Hammond, try to land some headshots on him if you can, because you're going to do a crap ton of damage to him if you can do it. If your aim struggles at landing headshots against Hammond, and the Hammond's just simply not dying, and it seems like he might need some extra damage coming his way, that's where Kiriko starts to drop off. I wouldn't say Kiriko's the greatest for counteracting Hammond, but I do think she's good at keeping your team alive against a Hammond, and if your team is at least willing to play the proper DPS and tank heroes to kind of counteract and deal with Hammond, then Kiriko could potentially work. But if they're not really playing the right damage and tank characters to take a Hammond out, Kiriko might then be worth swapping off of for better choices. And then just a quick go over that. What are some of the good characters that can melt a Hammond? So I like Sigma. I like I like Bastion. I like Hanzo if Hanzo can land his shots. Cassidy can be alright. Soldier can be alright. Zen, if he's putting the Discord orb on him and he's landing good shots, can be alright, assuming he's actually surviving any potentially dived attacks from Hammond. Ana can be good. She can output some decent damage. But just any like really high Sombra, of course, to hack the Hammond. If she's landing good opportunistic hacks on Hammond, characters like that can be good for taking out Hammond. All right, so Zenyatta. So Zenyatta, so playing Zen against Hammond is going to be a rougher one. It can work. So normally what you want to do is, first of all, ping Hammond at all times so that your team knows where he is if nobody else is doing it. The more people know and peel for you as a Zenyatta, the better off you're going to be. So anytime you see Hammond, ping him, be annoying with it if you have to be, so that your team knows where the Zen is, or knows where the Hammond is in relation to where you are. Discord orb Hammond pretty much all the time. As you see Zenyatta coming for you, or as you see Hammond, sorry, as you see Hammond coming for you, make sure the Discord orb's on him, and then let me get a different video up here. Thought I was going to be able to get this done in time, but nope.
Ready for battle. Ready for
5, 4, 3.
And, all right. So, going back to Zen here. All right. So, I'm going to reiterate this from the beginning. So, all right. If you're playing Zen and you've got a Hammond being the problem, if you see him lining up to charge at you or he's about to use his momentum to come at you, get the Discord Orb on him. That's number one. Charge up your shot. Don't release the shot unless you've got at least a minimum of 3 shots charged up. Then release it on the Hammond. Make sure you've got a full or nearly full clip to fight the Hammond with, because you're not going to win a fight against a Hammond as Zen if you've got a low clip as Zen. So make sure you're rocking at least 3/4 of a clip as Zen. And then melee him away from you if he gets close, and then just try to be hard to hit and single shot at Hammond. Don't charge up any more shots outside of when the fight is being initiated by the Hammond. Just try to land headshots when he's got his guns out. And if you do that, you might be surprised at what you can do against Hammond from there. However, if your positioning's bad and the other support can't get to you, and the Hammond's constantly targeting you, which is something he should be doing, and he's getting you killed, you're starting to play Respawn Simulator, then at that point it's swap off of Zen and pick a different hero. Zen isn't ideal for playing against Hammond. He's good for healing your Hammond if you're running with one, but if the other Hammond is going for you and your team's not really protecting you, get off of them and swap off to one of the other supports I've already talked about, because they're usually the ones that to better deal with it. But that would be what you would want to do before you want to swap off if you really wanted to try Zen against an enemy Hammond who is becoming a problem. Next is going to be Mercy. So, if Hammond is a problem and you're playing Mercy, what you're going to want to do first and foremost is make sure you're staying in the air and being difficult for the Hammond to get to you. If you're living through team fights, and your team has decent enough positioning that allows you to fly to them, you should be able to kind of do what you maybe saw the Kiriko video playing in the background in the earlier part of the video do as Mercy. Flying to targets that the Hammond dives on, healing them, peeling for whoever the Hammond's diving on, keeping them from taking too much damage, and being an annoying heal pocket for your team and just counteracting any of the damage coming in. If you're staying in the air, you're likely going to be one less target the Hammond's going to be able to easily dive on and take out. Because at that point, it's going to require the Hammond to have really good aim and really good tracking to take you out. And depending on what rank you're at, that's not always the best skill Hammond players have. Now, obviously, as you go up the ranks, that skill increases. It goes up. But if you're playing, I would say probably Plat and below, the aim tracking of the Hammond probably won't be all that great unless they are Smurf. So if you're staying in the air, you're probably not going to be dying to the Hammond. So try to do your best to stay in the air, peel for your targets, and then lastly, if the Hammond's not dying, make sure you're damage boosting the DPS that's going to counteract the Hammond the most. So if it's Bastion, say for example, if Hanzo's landing his shots against Hammond, damage boost them. If your team's running like Mei against Hammond and she's being really effective and annoying to the Hammond, then damage boost her. If you're running a Sigma and the Sigma seems to be landing his shots really effectively against the Hammond, you know, some of it's going to be situational. Like, they might be playing the right hero, but maybe they're not target prioritizing the Hammond, and the Hammond's the one that needs to die because they're stalling out the point or stalling out the cart. You know, target prioritize for the Mercy, who to damage boost, to be extra annoying and making sure that the damage is going where it needs to be going. And then lastly, if you're playing with teammates, this is going to be a tip more for the lower ranks, but if you're playing against a Hammond who's annoying and you have teammates that aren't positioning themselves very well, and say for example you're Mercy and you're playing with an Ana, and the Ana is getting dove by the Hammond, and she's playing like so far back, she's broken line of sight, and you can't fly to the Ana, and the Hammond gets the pick. Wait for the Hammond to leave, and see if you can get to her to get the res to counteract that whole transaction. And then you basically negate it, and you bring the Ana back to life, and next thing you know, anything that the Hammond did is completely irrelevant, because all of a sudden now you've got the Ana back into the fight. So picking and choosing when and who you res can be really big as Mercy. And then lastly, if none of that seems to be doing enough to counteract the Hammond, swap. Because Mercy's technically not the greatest hero to be dealing with a good Hammond, if Hammond is the problem, but those are the things to try before swapping. And last but not least, we've got Moira. So, alright, Moira is okay at dealing with Hammond, but only okay. There's definitely some things you can do to be annoying to Hammond, but I wouldn't say she's the worst support to deal with Hammonds, but she's probably somewhere in the lower to middle tier to doing it with. Well, actually, it's not last but not least. She's second last. I almost forgot Baptiste. But yeah, alright, so anyway, Moira. So if you're playing in a close quarters map, use your healing orbs to your advantage. Bounce them in ways that the healing orb is going to stay with you, assuming the Hammond's diving you. If he's not diving you and you're playing next to a support or a DPS that's easily diveable by the Hammond, bodyguard them again. As a support, you should be bodyguarding you know, the high priority Hammond targets. Use your healing orb to your advantage, so then that way you can be right clicking Hammond, and then once the healing orb starts to either get away from you or starts running out, then start spraying. Until then, right click and do damage to the Hammond, and then hopefully whoever you're bodyguarding is also doing damage to the Hammond, and suddenly it's a 2-on-1. You're both being healed from the healing orb, and you can focus on doing damage and making the Hammond retreat. That's number one. If Hammond starts going for you on Moira, you can use your teleport to get out of your pile driver. I use teleport to get out of pile drivers frequently, and it negates one of Hammond's more annoying abilities when he's going for you. If he's not going for you, you can always use teleport to close distance to try to get to one of your allies quicker. Otherwise, again, use your orbs to your advantage, and the orb you want to really be sticking with here is going to be your healing orb. And I'm already out of a game again. I didn't think I was going to be talking this much. Okay, we're going to go to another game.
Ready for battle. Ready for
5, 4, 3.
All right.
round 1. Capture
So,
objective.
and then let's see. I got some notes here. I just want to get back on track. Okay, so Another thing you can do as Moira, and this one's going to be very situational. I wouldn't say just do this blanketly, but if you're kind of getting close to overtime and the Hammond mines like a choke point, say escort map, maybe King of the Hill map, and the mines kind of go in between your team, and you are Moira and you have your ultimate, use your ultimate to both, one, clear the mines, because Moira can be a mine sweeper with her ultimate in the right circumstance. Again, don't do this just blanketly. If the mines aren't in a valuable spot, don't worry about them. But if they are, you can use your ult to clear mines and then also heal targets on the other side of the mines. So if it's overtime and your tank's on the other side of the mines and a bunch of the other people are on the back end of the mines, you can use them to clear mines and then also heal your tank in the process, assuming he's not like super far ahead. So Moira can be good for that. Let's see, did I miss anything on Moira? Heal target, stove on. Nope, that's about it. So yeah, that's really what you want to do for Moira when Hammond is being annoying. And if none of that is working, or if you're doing that and it doesn't really seem like it's helping anything, then swap. Because Moira, again, isn't the greatest for dealing with a Hammond. But these would be things to try if you're a Moira player and you're stuck against a Hammond. So, lastly, but not least, is going to be Baptiste. So, if you're playing Baptiste against Hammond, you're probably going to be one of the targets he might try to dive on. Bap has some mobility that you can use to your advantage, but you gotta time it correctly. You can't just, I don't know. It's one of those things you gotta really time. So you gotta one, have your jumps charged so that you can jump when you need to, and then two, try to play your positioning in a way that it's going to be annoying for the Hammond to come at you. But if the Hammond starts coming at you and you're BAP, have your jump charged up and jump in the air when he starts getting close to you. So if he's coming at you at full speed, you can jump up in the air and just jump right over him. Do it when he's about to pile drive you, and if you're at max height of your jump, then you don't get pile driven, you don't take damage. Save your shift for when the Hammond dives you and he gets you to about half health or lower, and then that's when you want to use your shift, and then suddenly now you're back to full health again or pretty close to it. Be careful on DPSing too much against Hammond. Make sure you're pinging Hammond. Let your team know so that they can come to you and peel for you. And then if you get too low, throw your lamp down and start counteracting the Hammond that way, and then make sure that he doesn't boop you out of the lamp. So try to get into a corner that he can't get you out of, throw the lamp down, and even throw it necessarily like behind you, and then try to get a little bit in front of the lamp, and then you might be able to tank some of the damage coming at the lamp and keep that lamp going a little longer. And then ultimately, though, it's going to be all about playing in a position that allows your team to peel for you. Because BAP is one of those heroes that they're potentially going to be able to dive you, and you can be annoying and prolong the fight, but Hammond might be able to win that one if you're not landing good shots and if your team is ignoring the encounter. So if your team is ignoring the encounter and you're playing Baptiste and you're constantly playing Respawn Simulator, you're probably going to want to swap at that point. But if you're doing all those things and prolonging that encounter and it still isn't working, just know you've done everything you could as BAP, and it's just not meant to be. BAP's not the greatest for dealing with Hammond. The other thing I would want to say too is if you are playing Baptiste against the Hammond, make sure you're not overshooting at Hammond if he's not going for you, because the Hammond's likely not going to die until some of the characters around him start dying. So if you're overshooting at the tank, and in this case Hammond, make sure that the DPS and the supports are dying too, because shooting at a Hammond when he's being fully supported by his team, that's not going to work. So if you got a lot of damage and no limbs, that might mean you're shooting at the tank too much. So if you've got a window out, that's a good opportunity to shoot at Hammond, because you can melt a Hammond with Baptiste ultimate. But if you've got supports in line of sight of that window, make sure the supports are dying first. Aside from that, though, if none of that's working, then just swap off and go either a stun character like Brig Lucio or Ana to sleep him, or Kiriko you could start, or Mercy to start diving, counteract his dive with a support dive to keep any of these characters that he dives from dying. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope that this was something you guys liked the idea of, and I just wanted to throw out there lastly, if you guys have other topics you want me to cover in a similar style as this, like common problems you run across in your support games and how to deal with them as all of the support class heroes out there, submit ideas to me and we can make other videos that aren't just VOD reviews, because I feel like the VOD review thing might be getting a little on the stale side. So if you want to submit these ideas, I would prefer you submit them to me privately, and you can do that at the Overwatch coach at gmail.com. So if you, I don't know, say for example, I keep running across God tier Widows and Widow keeps killing me on a particular style of map or something, or I always lose King of the Hill maps as support, what do I do to play differently or something, you know, I don't know, give me different ideas, common problems you run across, and we can try to make a new style of video off of this and cover different things like that. But please submit it to that email address. I check that email maybe like once or twice a week. I don't check it super often, but I'll check it enough that when I start producing videos for the week, if I see something in there that I feel like I can make a good video off of, I will, and we'll maybe make this a new series or a new thing for the channel. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.